Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, Text 18. Sutta vacha aho vyam jan bhrito adhyasam vridhanuvrityapi viloma jataha doshkulya madhim vidunoti shigram mahatmanam vibhadhan yogaha.
Translation. Sri Sutta Goswami said, O God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from lower births.
Text 19. Kutaha pungrito nam tasya mahatme kant prayanayasya yonant shaktir bhagavan nanto mahad gunutvad mahu.
And what to speak of those who are under the direction of the great devotees, chanting the holy name of the Unlimited, who has unlimited potency, the personality of Godhead, unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes, is called Ananta, unlimited.
Text 20. Etavatalam nanusuchiten guner samyan tishayanasya hitve prathayato vibhuti rayasyanangrinu jatshetu nibhipso.
It is now ascertained that he, the personality of Godhead, is unlimited, and there is none equal to him. Consequently, no one can speak of him adequately. Great demigods cannot obtain the favor of the goddess of fortune, even by prayers. But this very goddess renders service unto the Lord, although he is unwilling to have such service.
Text 21. Athapi yat padan khava srishtam jagadviricho prahrta hranambaha sesham punaya yanatmo mukandat konam loke bhagavat pradartha.
Who can be worthy of the name of the Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva.
Text 22. Yatra anurakta sahaseva dhira vayopyodhyayadishu sanang mudam vrajanti tatparmahansya mantayam yasmin hinso pashma savdharmaha.
Self-controlled persons who are attached to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna can all of a sudden give up the world of material attachment, including the gross body and subtle mind, and go away to attain the highest perfection of the renounced order of life, by which non-violence and renunciation are consequential.
Text 23. Aham hi prishtoryamano bhavadvi rachaksh atma vagumatra yavan nabha patanyatma sampatti patrena sthata samam vishnu gatim vipaschit.
O rishis who are powerfully pure as the sun, I shall try to describe to you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as far as my knowledge is concerned. As the birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotees describe the Lord as far as their realization allows.
Text 24 and 25. Ekda dhanurdhamya vichran mrigyo vane mriganugata shranta shruti drishto bhrisham Jalaksham shachakshana pariveshatamashmam dadarsh munimasinam shantam malitalocanam.
Once upon a time, Maharaja Parikshit, while engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty while following the stags. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of the well-known Samika Rishi and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes.
Text 26. प्रतिरुदेन्द्रिया प्राण मनोबोधिमुपारतम स्थानात्रयात् परं प्राप्तं ब्रह्म भूतम् अविक्रियम्.
The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the three: wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute.
Text 27. Viparkirinjatashanam rave ranajinincha vishushyatalurudukam tatha bhutmayachat.
The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water.
Text 28. Albadatran bhumi adir asampar pratagya suranataha avagyatamaivatmanan manam manya manaschu chukopaha.
The king, not received by any formal welcome by means of being offered a seat, place, water, and sweet addresses, considered himself neglected, and so thinking, he became angry.
Text 29. Abhutpurva sahasa shuddhabhyamardim tatmanah brahman pratyabhut brahman mansaro manyurevacha.
O Brahmanas, the circumstances having distressed him with extreme hunger and thirst, the king directed toward the sage his anger and envy, which he had never before directed towards a Brahmana.
Text 30. Satu brahma rishere ramse gata smorgam rusha vinargan chandnush kotya nidhaye purmagataha.
While leaving, the king, being so insulted, picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace.
Text 31. Esha kim nibhatesha karno milekta kashnaha mrisha samadhiraho svet kim no syatshatra bandhu bihi.
Upon returning, he began to contemplate and argue with himself whether the sage had actually been in meditation, with senses concentrated and eyes closed, or whether he had just been feigning trance just to avoid receiving a lower kshatriya.
Text 32. Tas tejasvi viharan balako rabhukahe ragyagam pratpatam tatam shrutva tatredam brabravit.
The sage had a son who was very powerful, being a Brahmana's son. While he was playing with inexperienced boys, he heard of his father's distress, which was occasioned by the king. Then and there, the boy spoke as follows.
Sorry, Mataji got disconnected. Text 33. Aho adharma palanam pivnam bali bhujame swamin yagam yaddasanam dwarpanam shuname.
The Brahmana's son, Shringi, said, "Oh, just look at the sins of the rulers who, like crows and watchdogs at the door, perpetrate sins against their masters, contrary to the principles governing servants."
Text 34. Brahmane chhatra bandurhi grahapalo nirupitaha sakatham tadgrahe dvasthaha sambhadam bhokatumharti.
The descendants of the kingly orders are definitely designated as watchdogs, and they must keep themselves at the door. On what grounds can dogs enter the house and claim to dine with the master on the same plate?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Meena Mataji and Girish Prabhu, for the beautiful recitations. Thank you. I'm just checking to see if Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu has joined us. Okay, he hasn't joined us so far. So Please bear with him and he will join us shortly. In the meantime, I'll recite the Mangala Charan prayer. Before that, may I say, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'm Sriji Kishori Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. It was a shortened version of the Mangala Charan because I thought I saw Prabhuji's name. Okay, he hasn't joined. Maybe you can all unmute your mics and we'll say the Mahamantra together while waiting for Prabhuji to join. Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
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 Rama
Rama Rama Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Hare Rama Hare
Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sakshi Mataji, could you call Prabhuji and see if he's going to join us soon, please?
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Maybe what we can do while waiting for Prabhuji to join is to read the two verses that are going to be discussed today. And I know we did not have a class on Sunday, so we will go back to those two verses that we were supposed to read on Sunday. Jyoti Mataji, please, would you mind sharing with us the two verses, please?
Yes, Mataji, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Mataji, what verses were they, sorry?
26, 27.
26 to 27.
With the
Yes.
puppets?
With the purpose, yes, please.
Okay.
Okay. 26 to 27.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I would like 2 volunteers, please, to read the Sanskrit and the purports, please. Who would like to volunteer to read the Sanskrit, please?
I can read.
Yes, please, Mataji. Go ahead.
Text 26. Pratiturdindriya prana manobuddhim uparatam sthanatrayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam.
And the synonyms, please. Thank you.
Pratrirudha, restrained. Indriya, the sense organs. Prana, air of respiration, mana, the mind, buddhim, intelligence, uparatam, inactive, sthana, places, trayat, from the three, param, transcendental, praptam, achieved, brahmabhutam, qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute, avikriyam, unaffected.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Who would like to read the translation, please?
I can do, Mataji.
Yes, please.
The Muni's sense of breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the three: wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute.
Would you like to read the purport as well, please,
Yes,
Mataji?
sure. Yeah. It appears that the Muni in whose hermitage the king entered was in yogic trance. The transcendental position is attained by three processes, namely the process of Gyan, or theoretical knowledge of transcendence, the process of yoga, or factual realization of trance by manipulation of the physiological and psychological functions of the body, and the most approved process of bhakti yoga, or the engagement of senses in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, also we have the information of the gradual development of perception from the matter to a living entity. Our material mind and body develop from the living entity, the soul, and being influenced by the three qualities of matter, we forget our real identity. The Gyan process theoretically speculates about the reality of the soul, but Bhakti Yoga actually engages the spirit soul in activities. The perception of matter is transcended to still subtler states of the senses. The senses are transcended to the subtler mind, and then to breathing activities, and gradually to intelligence. Beyond the intelligence, the living soul is realized by the mechanical activities of the yoga system, or practice of meditation, restraining the senses, regulating the breathing system, and applying intelligence to rise to the transcendental position. This trance stops all material activities of the body. The king saw the Muni in that position. He also saw the Muni as follows. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, is Prabhuji with us now? Okay, he's going to join in a few minutes' time. So can I ask Rasalila Oh, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, you are here with us. Hare Bol, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, remind me what verse we're doing today?
Well, on Sunday, we were supposed to do 26 and 27, and today 27 and 28 and 29. So would you be able to go back to the two verses from Sunday, please?
Okay, remind me chapter number 19.
Chapter number 18.
And verses?
Verses 26 to 27 for Sunday, and 28 to 29 for today.
Okay, we'll do all four today.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Prabhuji, on the sorry, I'm so sorry to bother. You will be doing verses only 26 to 27, because for tomorrow it has been on the rota 28 to 29. Tomorrow means on Wednesday the Prabhuji will be doing. So I have changed all the whole thing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
26 and 27 today.
26, and that's, yes. Sorry, Ishiji Kishori Mataji, I changed the schedule. Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
no worries. And you've done the Mangala Charanam prayers already?
Yes, Prabhuji, I did a shortened version of the Mangalacharan thinking that you had joined, but if you'd like to do it again, please, thank you very much.
No, I'll just say the short one. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pushtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Picharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, Pastichali Shatarine, Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So text number 26. Pratirudhendriya prana mano buddhim uparatam sthana trayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam. So Mataji, if one of you all can show the verse on the screen, I'll appreciate it, because I'm just doing it from my phone today. Okay, thank you. So word for word translation. Pratirudha, restrained. Indriya, the sense organs. Prana, air of respiration. Mana, the mind. Buddhim, intelligence. Uparatam, inactive. Sthana, places. Trayat, from the three. Param, transcendental. Praptam, achieved. Brahma Bhutam, qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. Avikriyam, unaffected. The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities. And he was situated in a trance, apart from the three, wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. By Srila Prabhupada. It appears that the Muni, in whose hermitage the king entered, was in yogic trance. The transcendental position is attained by three processes, namely the process of jnana, or theoretical knowledge of transcendence, the process of yoga, or factual realization of trance by manipulation of the physiological and psychological functions of the body, and the most approved process of bhakti yoga, or the engagement of senses in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita also, we have the information of the gradual development of perception from matter to a living entity. Our material mind and body develop from the living entity, the soul. And being influenced by the three qualities of matter, we forget our real identity. The jnana process theoretically speculates about the reality of the soul. But bhakti yoga factually engages the spirit soul in activities. The perception of matter is transcended to still subtler states of the senses. The senses are transcended to the subtler mind, and then to the breathing activities, and gradually to intelligence. Beyond the intelligence, the living soul is realized by the mechanical activities of the yoga system, or practice of meditation, restraining the senses, regulating the breathing system, and applying intelligence to rise to the transcendental position. This trance stops all material activities of the body. The king saw the Muni. He also saw the Muni as follows. So I'll continue reading because it leads on to the next verse, number 27. Viprakirna jata chanam rora vena jina cha jinena cha vishushya talur udakam tata bhutam ayachata. Word for word translations. Viprakirna, all scattered. Jata, achananam, achanam, covered with compressed long hair. Roravena, by the skin of a stag. Ajinena, by the skin. Cha, also. Vishushat, dried up. Talu, palate. Udakam, water. Tatabhutam, in that state. Ayachata, asked for. The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water. Purport. The king, being thirsty, asked the sage for water. That such a great devotee and king asked for water from a sage absorbed in trance was certainly providential. Otherwise, there was no chance of such a unique happening. Maharaj Parikshit was thus placed in an awkward position so that gradually Srimad Bhagavatam would be revealed. So, we're reading these beautiful verses leading up to the Srimad Bhagavatam being spoken. And what is probably the most important point in these two verses, that this is all the arrangement of Krishna. Krishna is engineered this particular situation. So what we are reading and what we're trying to picture in our minds is a scene molded by Lord Krishna. And the first aspect of the scene is the description of the Muni. And it is described that this Muni, Samika Rishi, he was in a state of trance. We understand from our readings of the Vedic literature that the highest position is a position of trance, sometimes called samadhi. Samadhi. That is complete absorption in the first in the self, and then on the super self. And in the purport, Prabhupada explains that there are three ways that we can achieve this state. It's called the Brahma Bhuta, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. This stage, where one is in the stage of samadhi, is called the Brahma Bhuta stage. Let's see, and mute somebody. So this is called the Brahma Bhuta stage. And Srila Prabhupada, basically, it's an inward journey. One in material consciousness, the journey is outward. The senses are projected outward, and through the outward journey, the living entity tries to gain satisfaction and happiness. But the yogis, their journey is inward. Inward meaning directing the consciousness towards the inner self. And Prabhupada talks about three paths towards the inward journey. First is the path of jnana, or theoretical knowledge of transcendence, where through study of what is matter and spirit, one gradually becomes closer and closer to spirit. The second process is the mechanical process. And the third process, the mechanical process of Astanga Yoga, the Eightfold Mystic Yoga process. And finally, the process of Bhakti Yoga. In all of these processes, in all of these paths, there are a few factors that are essential, as Prabhupada explains. It starts off with control of the senses. Without control of the senses, it's impossible to go within, because the process is like a tug of war. You know, you're trying to draw your consciousness inward, but the senses are pulling it outward. You can't. So the first path is one has to control the senses. It's essential. Anyone who thinks that they can practice yoga or go inward, draw their consciousness inward, while at the same time, exploiting the senses, it just can't happen. So it is essential, as Prabhupada said, the sense organs have to be controlled. And those who are perfect, they have completely controlled the senses. That means the senses are under their control. Like for us, if we have to fast, it is a big austerity because the senses are dragging us because we haven't got control over the senses. But those who have got control of the senses, they can engage in yoga. They can absorb themselves in the self because the senses are not pulling them anymore. So that's the first very important aspect. Therefore, in the Nectar of Instruction, the very first verse that Srila Rupa Goswami gives is Vajra Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam Jiva Vegam Udara Pasta Vegam. So Rupa Goswami is saying that first we have to control the senses. So after controlling the senses, there is the mind, and higher than the mind is the intelligence. So the next part is to control the mind. And we heard from the Bhagavad Gita that that's very difficult. And lastly, we have to control the intelligence. So the path of Jnana and the path of Astanga requires great austerity. But the path of Bhakti, which is the path by which one engages one's senses in the service of Krishna, then simply by engaging the senses in the services of Krishna, the senses become controlled. By engaging the mind in thinking about Krishna, the mind becomes controlled. And by engaging the intelligence in thinking of how to serve Krishna, how to propagate Krishna consciousness, then the intelligence is controlled. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport of verse 26 that the best process, the best path is the path of Bhakti Yoga. And the second last or third last sentence in that purport is very interesting. Srila Prabhupada says, this chant stops all material activities of the body. Now, why is that? Krishna explains that in the Bhagavad Gita, that once one has obtained a higher taste, param drishta, dristva nivartate, that once we've obtained the higher taste, then automatically the lower taste can be given up. And one becomes so absorbed in the self and in devotion to the Lord that we become disinterested in the activities of the body. And we see that in many situations in the lives of the great devotees. When Srila Prabhupada was in his last days, he said that his body was just skin and bones, practically no flesh. And the Kaviraj, the Ayurvedic doctor that came, he was saying that anyone in that situation would have been in excruciating pain, intolerable pain, where there's no flesh, just bone and skin. But yet Srila Prabhupada was completely beyond the body. He was not troubled by the body, was not troubled by the activities of the body. He was completely situated in transcendence. And this is the path of yoga. It's the path of transcendence, and that path has to go through controlling the senses, mind, and intelligence. And again, in text number 27, Srila Prabhupada is saying that the thirst that Maharaj Yudhisthira was experiencing, this was created by Lord Krishna. Now, we know that when Maharaj Parikshit got cursed, he left his kingdom and he went to the banks of the river Ganges, ready to prepare for leaving his body. And there for 7 days and 7 nights, he simply heard Srimad Bhagavatam, and he was not troubled by any thirst. He was not at all troubled. He completely had his senses under control. So Srila Prabhupada, I'm not sure if it was in this verse or in some other verse, Prabhupada says, this situation of Maharaj Parikshit is very uncharacteristic of him. It was very uncharacteristic of him. And Prabhupada says here, this is a very strange situation, that such a great devotee and king asked for water from a sage absorbed in trance was certainly providential. Why was it so strange? Because a great devotee, a king, the automatic dharma is to serve the sadhus. When a sadhu comes to the house of a king, first thing is the king would wash the feet of the sadhu, offer the sadhu some water to drink, and then later on some palatable foodstuffs. But here, the king is asking the sadhu, the yogi, for water. So Prabhupada says, this is something uncharacteristic. So we know, or we can understand that the king asking the sadhu for water, who would normally give the sadhu water, this was providential. This was providential, that Krishna is creating such a situation. Prabhupada says, otherwise, there was no chance of such a unique happening. Unique happening in the sense that the king asking the sadhu for water. Prabhupada concludes by saying, Maharaj Parikshit was thus placed in an awkward position so that gradually Srimad Bhagavatam could be revealed. So Krishna's ultimate plan, as Srila Prabhupada has repeatedly said in the purports to the Bhagavatam, Krishna's ultimate plan for the material world is to attract the fallen and misguided jivas back to their original position. And part of Krishna's plan was for Srimad Bhagavatam to be spoken. And for such a transcendental literature, the cream, the topmost of all literature to be spoken, we had to have the perfect listener and the perfect speaker. And Krishna has chosen his great devotee Maharaj Parikshit to be that perfect listener. So this is devotee. And Prabhupada later speaks about the consciousness of Maharaj Parikshit. Srila Prabhupada says, it was within Maharaj Parikshit's capability to ask for the curse to be reversed. That was possible, for the curse to be reversed. But Maharaj Parikshit, he had no such thought. no such thought, because what he was thinking? He was thinking, this is the plan of Krishna. If I introduce my plan into the situation, then it's going to upset the plan of Krishna. So this is a devotee. A devotee sees everything as the plan of Krishna. The other day, on Saturday, we were speaking about the story of the king and his minister, where the king had cut his hand, and the minister said, oh, this is all Krishna's arrangement. And the king got absolutely furious with the minister. He says, how absurd is this statement? How absurd is this statement? I've got cut, I'm bleeding, I am suffering, and you can say that this is the plan of Krishna? He got so angry, he actually asked his ministers, his soldiers, to throw the minister into jail. He was so furious that he could make such a statement. So the minister was in jail, and the king went out on his exploits, traveling throughout his kingdom to maintain his reign. And while he was on his journey, he got captured by some Durga worshippers. And these Durga worshippers, they would sacrifice human beings to Durga Devi. So whoever was on the entourage, they were sacrificed. They were sacrificed, and they lost their lives. But then it came to the time for the king to be sacrificed. And then they saw his hand was cut. There were traces of blood. And they're saying, oh, no. We can't offer a tainted offering to Durga Devi. So they spared the king, saying, oh, you don't deserve to be killed. And then it struck the king that his minister was a devotee of the Lord. He had said that this is Krishna's mercy. This is God's mercy upon you. Now I can see it is God's mercy. So when he went back to the kingdom, straight away he went to the minister in jail. He released him and he said, please forgive me. I could not understand your statement that this is Krishna's mercy and I should not have imprisoned you. And then the minister said, oh, actually you imprisoning me is also Krishna's mercy. Because normally I travel everywhere with you. And if I was not in prison, I would have been sacrificed by the Durga worshippers and I would be dead now. So that is also Krishna's mercy. So this is the nature of the devotee. The devotee tries to see every experience in their lives as the mercy of Krishna, as Krishna trying to guide them. Because having surrendered to Krishna, one has this faith that Krishna has one's best interest at heart. So we see that very clearly in this verse here. And the last point about oneness, Prabhupada makes it very clear, Brahma Bhuta. The Mayavadis, they say the oneness means one has become one with God. One has become God. But here it says qualitatively, not quantitatively. Krishna is unlimited. We are limited. So we can realize our spiritual nature, but qualitatively, not quantitatively. We never become God when we become fully realized in the Brahma Bhuta stage. Okay, dear devotees, it's 8:30. We'll stop here. We'll take any questions, comments, reflections that anyone may have. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan, Chandra Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. As you are explaining that it is Srila Prabhupada actually giving us this knowledge that, whatever happened when Parikshit went and asked for water and got cursed by Singhi, it's all because of Krishna's energy. It wasn't Srila Prabhupada. I don't know whether anybody else would see it like that and write in Srimad Bhagavatam like that. Would that be possible?
You mean anyone else would see it in this light, that it was Krishna's
Yes.
arrangement?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, all the devotees of the Lord would see that, because the nature of a devotee, a pure devotee, will see everything as Krishna's arrangement. But Srila Prabhupada is pointing it out so clearly, it's so clearly. Yeah, there would have been some inkling that this is Krishna's arrangement. But there would have maybe also been some other doubts about Maharaj Parikshit, like someone who is not a pure devotee, there will be some trace. There will be some trace of doubt about the character of Maharaj Parikshit. How can he ask the sage for water? How can he become hungry? How can he become do such an abominable thing? So they may develop some little negative sentiments towards Maharaj Parikshit in this incident. But the pure devotees, there won't be a trace. You know what was interesting in the Mahabharata? It is said that Krishna asked Abhimanyu to enter the phalanx, and Krishna told everyone, Abhimanyu, if you do this and you do that, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. But Abhimanyu, he entered the phalanx and he was killed. And it said when Krishna came back and he saw Uttara and Subhadra, it is described by the Acharya, there wasn't even the tiniest fraction, speck of anger and resentment from Subhadra or Uttara. Their feelings towards Krishna was exactly the same before Abhimanyu was killed. Normally a wife or a mother would have expressed some anger or resentment towards Krishna. But Subhadra and Uttara, they had absolutely no ill feelings towards Krishna. Because being pure devotees, they understood that Krishna had some plan. So everything the devotees, they're seeing it as the plan of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada so starkly brings that out in this purport.
Yeah,
What he experienced.
thank you for giving example. Wonderful. Thank you. Also, like as it says in this explanation, that he was so thirsty, all of a sudden, and asking the sage to give him water, and then for 7 days he was without water, without sleep, without anything. So obviously it can be seen that it is the will of Krishna, the Bhagavatam, to come out to through, like it says, the Bhagavad Gita came through Arjuna and Bhagavatam came through Parikshit Maharaj. So this had to happen. It was a great plan of Krishna.
Yes, absolutely. One of the names of Krishna is Rishikesh, meaning the master of the senses. So here we can see that Krishna took control of Parikshit's senses. He made his senses agitated. He made his sense of thirst prominent. So this is like another example of how actually it's Krishna who is in control of our senses.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Also, what I understand also that all the ancestors, like Yudhishthir, Arjun, they all left. The living Parikshit Maharaj, and Kali Yuga was going to come. Krishna, of course, Krishna knows everything, so he had to leave something for the world to be connected to Krishna through Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is through Parikshit Maharaj and Shukadev Goswami. So that's why it all had to happen. Otherwise, Srimad Bhagavatam wouldn't be spoken, and so it's just when we read this wonderful literature of spiritual literature, it gives us a lot of faith and a lot of to Krishna and all the scripture we have, and it's so nice.
Krishna wants to use his devotees as his instruments, just like in the Bhagavad Gita, he made Arjuna so confused. Arjuna was known as the most powerful warrior. Suddenly he's on the battlefield, he can't even hold his bow and arrow, it's slipping from his hand. Something totally uncharacteristic, because Krishna was using him as an instrument. Therefore, sometimes we see that devotees, they may be in a precarious situation. It may seem that they are falling down. But who knows? Krishna may be just using them to teach the rest of the world an example. So we've got to be very, very careful not to judge devotees, because Krishna uses his devotees for his purpose. Panjali Mataji, you patiently had your hand up and you put it down now. Did you have a question or comment?
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you for the wonderful class as always. I just put my hand down because you just touched upon the point. It was a kind of reflection that I was going to no question, but you just touched upon the point, so that's the reason I put my hand down. So I was just reflecting on the fact, as you mentioned just now, that the Shastras teach us a lot of things, and there are some specific themes that come out throughout the Shastras, through the various pastimes or through Krishna's teachings directly. And momentary disillusionment of a pure devotee is one of the things that come up quite a few times in the various books, whether it's Arjuna, whether it's Parikshit Maharaj, whether it's Lord Brahma, whether it's Lord Indra. So this is one of the themes that, yes, these are all devotees, and some of them great devotees. I mean, Lord Indra you can question a bit, but Lord Brahma is a pure devotee, so is Arjuna and Maharaj Parikshit. But what happens to them momentarily? I mean, you can even talk about Durvasa Muni, who may be angry, but he was a devotee as well. So why did he lose? Why did he curse Ambarish Maharaj? So I was just reflecting on the fact that, throughout the various pastimes, we do see all throughout the happenings that as are told to us or retold to us, Krishna wants to teach us something by putting his pure devotees in a state of disillusionment only momentarily, just to give a particular message to the wider audience.
Very true. Thank you, Mata. Very nice reflection. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anyone else got any reflections or comments, questions, like to add their own realizations of these verses? No? Okay, thank you. Oh, Chetna Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I have a completely unrelated question, and I hope it's okay to ask.
Yes.
So we were having a conversation at work, and of course, because I don't eat eggs, but I drink milk, being a vegetarian. So my colleagues were asking me, so what is it in your religion that says that because both are products from an animal, but you can have milk, but you don't have eggs, and you used to before? I couldn't quite answer it properly. So, I mean,
so the question,
the question because both of them are products of an animal.
One product from an animal, but you're not having the other. Like milk is from an animal.
Yes.
So from a Krishna conscious perspective, as Prabhupada would say, our consciousness is not so much about what is good or what is bad. Our consciousness is what does Krishna want? Because ultimately the devotee offers everything they eat to Krishna. So Krishna likes milk. Krishna loves milk. Krishna doesn't like eggs. So Krishna says that such food that is rotting, it's in the mode of ignorance. And there are foods that are pure. And milk, Krishna says, milk is pure food. So one answer you can give is, we are trying to purify our consciousness all times. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there's food in the mode of ignorance, draws us to the mode of ignorance, food in the mode of passion, and food in the mode of goodness. Milk has been explained by Krishna to be food in the mode of goodness, and eggs is food in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, we avoid eggs and we take milk.
Okay. Thank you. I wasn't sure what the answer was, if I'm honest, and I said I'll probably ask and just to get an understanding myself as well. So thank you.
Hare Krishna. If anyone wants to add, feel free to add. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone.
If I can just add a little bit to your answer to help Mataji explain. I think somewhere in one of our shastras it says, no, obviously egg has a life element inside, which is the primary reason we would not, because it's a form of life, whereas milk is a byproduct. It's not a form of life. Then you could have this surplus argument that, well, what if it's an unfertilized egg? It's still considered the flesh of the animal, according to Shastra, so you would get the same karmic reaction consuming the flesh of an animal if you eat it, even if it's an unfertilized egg. So that might help her answer the difference between one animal product, the other. One is a form of life, the other one is just a byproduct.
Yeah, that was actually one of the points, kind of we were discussing that if it's not fertilized, really how, but then again, at the same time, if it's an ethical thing, then milk production is not ethical now because, the reality is that, cows are being slaughtered because we're drinking milk. So, yeah, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sailesh Prabhu.
Yeah, that's also correct as well. I mean, so that's why we as Vaishnavas try and go for, something like ahimsa milk wherever we can. Practically, if it's not possible, we can't. But I heard Radhanath Swami once explain, Bhakti Rasamitra Swami once explain that should we as Vaishnavas abstain from drinking milk if ahimsa milk is not available? And he said no. We need to offer milk products to Krishna because he enjoys the milk. And even though we understand it's not ideal, if it's sourced in this form, the fact that if it's offered to Krishna, it actually still has benefit to the cow, that it will help to deliver the cow, or at least get some spiritual credit to the cow, because the cow's milk has been offered to Krishna, even though the cow may have suffered in the production of that. Now, that's quite a high spiritual explanation. I suspect you wouldn't be able to explain that so easily to a work colleague. But from our perspective, as a Vaishnava perspective, why we should not necessarily become vegan, and we should try and stay in the dairy diet, because dairy is actually important for us from a health perspective as well, according to Prabhupada, as well as Shastra. So I hope that helps a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, devotees, it's 8:45. Time's moved on. Thank you very much for your attendance and participation. All glories to your service, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Vanchakalturabhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha. Patitanam
Patitanapavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you,
Jai.
Prabhuji, for a nice
Thank you,
class, very
Prabhuji.
nice class.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Prabhuji. Hare
Wonderful
Krishna.
class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.